Another Arsenal deal is complete, according to Fabrizio Romano, with a bid for Declan Rice expected imminently. We're also taking a look at a big rumour surrounding Manchester United. They could be in for Pickford to replace David De Gea as the number one at Old Trafford. Download One Football right now to get all these stories on your phone, all in one place. Scan the QR code on the screen or click in the link in the description below. But let's do this. Let's go. Bukayo Saka has signed a new deal. Martinelli, William Saliba. We know Odegaard is on the agenda for Arsenal, but according to Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal have reached a full agreement, a done deal, a completed deal. A here we go, if you like, with Reiss Nelson over a long-term deal. As revealed weeks ago, player verbally agreed. Here we go. He said it will be valid until 2027 with an option for a further year. So it's essentially a 5-year deal from Arsenal's point of view. The club are waiting for Reiss to sign ASAP to avoid new bids. But the fact he's verbally agreed, he's an Arsenal boy. It's probably, and the fact that they've allowed this news to come out is completed. I don't think Arsenal or Reiss Nelson would allow this news to surface if it wasn't complete, or it wasn't going to complete. So you can almost bet your bottom dollar upon that happening. And look, Arsenal doing a lot of business in terms of keeping players the manager wants and sees as important to his squad and first team. Now, it's always intriguing to look at a player like Reiss Nelson. He clearly isn't, in my view, someone who is going to permanently be able to play ahead of Saka's and Martinelli's and Trossard's when they're fit and in form. But squads are very important in terms of building the ability to win major trophies. Even when you go through Man City's squad over the past 7 years, where they've won 5 Premier League titles, they've had players within their teams that may not necessarily have been rated as the very best. Delph stands out as an example, as somebody who, since leaving City, hasn't gone on to massive heights. They've also had players at the club before, like James Milner, who's a very, very good professional, important in moments and in times, but isn't an out and out world beater. And I think that when you look at a club like Arsenal, maintaining some continuity with some academy players who I believe have a tendency to be happier with a less permanent role in the starting 11, see the club's direction and growth as often more important than their own careers. It's sometimes easier to build squad players out from your academy than it is to buy them. Just typically, it seems a little bit easier. And I think Reiss Nelson will. And I might have said Reiss James at the start of this video. If I did, I really do apologize. A Freudian slip there. But Reiss Nelson is a player that I think will help maintain the overall squad levels at Arsenal. It isn't the biggest completed deal or new contract that Arsenal fans are going to celebrate, but it's certainly an intriguing piece of business. Now, what Fabrizio has also said today is that Arsenal have held positive talks over the Declan Rice transfer. He said, and I want to make sure that I get his wording right here. Fabrizio reported that Arsenal's official bid to sign Declan Rice is expected very soon, with the Gunners holding positive talks over the signing in recent days. Romano adds that the Arsenal feel they are ahead of Bayern Munich in that race. So Fabrizio Romano, again, kind of confirming what a lot of us already knew. They're ahead of the race. They're very positive, and that bid is expected very soon. I know that Arsenal fans are kind of clambering around daily, looking for updates, what's going on. Fabrizio has spoken on this. Remember, you can get all these stories on the One Football app now. Download it for free by scanning that QR code or clicking our link in the description below. There's some more positive news there for Arsenal Football Club. And I reiterate again, it's Reiss Nelson. I may have said Reiss James. I may not have done. It's just in my head now. I apologize if I got that wrong. Now, this is a story that worries me. Worries me. Reported here on One Football this morning, It says that Jordan Pickford emerges as a surprise candidate as Erik ten Hag looks to solve his goalkeeping crisis. Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag has had quite a few major problems to solve ahead of his second season in charge. The addition of an elite goal scorer seems to be top of the priority list, but many may argue that strengthening at the back and goalkeeper is key. David De Gea may have won the Golden Glove at the end of the Premier League season, but was single-handedly responsible for United's exit from the Europa League and heartbreaking loss to Man City in the FA Cup final. It says here that in the 38 games last season, the England international kept 8 clean sheets and is very good with his feet and is commanding in his box. A number of reports are emerging from British media outlets that Manchester United could be in for Jordan Pickford. Now, I will add, and look, I've had this in my DMs. I've had people coming at me saying, "Oh my God, Pickford! What's Ten Hag thinking of? His player IQ, his talent ID, his player IQ, his understanding of the game is off. He's looking at Mount, he's looking at Pickford. This is horrendous." Well, what we know is that Man United are in talks with Porto for the potential signing of Costa. We know that Man United have made inquiries about David Raya, but are unwilling to pay the £40 million that Brentford are demanding. I want to reiterate, though, that this story, the source of this story comes from the Sun. So I've spoken about this many times before. I won't ever completely disregard any media outlet stories on transfers because it was the Sun, by the way, who were before David Ornstein, before Fabrizio, on Big Ange joining Tottenham. A report came out on the Friday saying it'll be done by Monday, Tuesday. It looks, all things look positive. Everybody laughed at it, said it's the Sun, we don't believe it. And exactly what they said was going to happen transpired. So I'm not going to sit here and say 110% Jordan Pickford isn't in Man United's reckoning or thinking, because that would make me a hypocrite. What I will say, though, is everybody says the Sun are liars, the Sun can't be trusted. But when they print a story that serves the purpose of rivals, they banter you, they laugh at you, they take it as gospel. People that don't like Man United fans, that don't like Ten Hag, are taking this as complete and utter gospel truth. But if they wrote an article that was nasty about Jadon Sancho, they would rightfully come out and say it's the Sun and they're scumbags and we shouldn't listen or trust anything they say or do. You've got to pick a side and be consistent with this as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to transfer stories, I take them more seriously. But depending on the credibility of the outlet, the severity of how serious I take it is different. And on this, do I think Man United are looking at Pickford? You'll probably find what's happened is there's been conversations and his name is on a list. Oh, who do you think United are looking at? Well, they want Costa number one. They're looking at David Raya. They have also looked at and thought about Pickford. They think he's an improvement, but he isn't a number one priority. And of course, you spin the story that the Everton slot shopper, this is the headline, the Everton slot shopper Pickford could be the club's go-to man this summer. Yeah, could be. If number one choice, number two choice, number three choice falls through. If all the number one choices fall through, then potentially this could happen. But the likelihood of missing out on our number one, number two, and number three goalkeeper and ending up with Jordan Pickford is fairly slim. So it isn't something I'm overly concerned about. I'm not going to suggest the Sun have made this story up from absolutely nowhere, but it certainly isn't a deal that I'm panicking about. Again, I'm not going to be a Man United fan online, showing my ass and panicking about these things and attacking my manager's talent ID when I don't personally think this deal is going to happen in any way, in any shape, or in any form. So I'm kind of relaxed about it in terms of that. But it's one to keep an eye out on. I think the positive news is Man United are really working hard to bring in a new goalkeeper, which is actually something that Ten Hag and Man United have been hugely criticised for in recent months over De Gea's new deal, even though it's a short-term new deal and a massive reduction in his wages. And it was always suggested that's because the club are going to look to bring in a new number one. Strangely, that element of the conversation and articles was always ignored to why is the manager backing this goalie that needs to be replaced? He never was doing that. It was never in the stories. I never understood how this sort of caught fire. But as ever, I do want your thoughts. I want your feelings. I want your opinions on these stories. As we mentioned there, the Pickford one, Rice, the bid coming soon. Very positive talk for Arsenal. And of course, Reece Nelson signing. I may have said Reece James at the top of this video, and I apologize if I did. But Reece Nelson, new deal agreed at Arsenal. The new deals are coming in thick and fast. Arsenal not losing any players that they want to keep, which is for me, is a massive step forward in terms of how Arsenal operate. Remember to download the OneFootball app. Very important that you do it. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon.